She laughed in my face when I figured it out. I'd stopped by the house on Fisher Street, the one I'd given Evan and Mara as a wedding gift, to drop off a box of antique cabinet pulls. Victorian brass, salvaged from a demo job downtown. The kind of detail that makes a house feel lived in instead of staged. I knocked twice, got no answer, and used my key. The door wasn't locked anyway. Mara stood in the kitchen, barefoot, visibly pregnant, maybe 5 months along. A leather jacket hung over the back of a chair, men's, size large, definitely not Evan's. The label said Vance Construction. She turned, saw me, and didn't even flinch. "Caleb," she said like I'd interrupted her podcast recording. I set the box down on the counter. "Didn't know you were expecting." "Surprise." She smiled. Not warm, not embarrassed, just smooth. I looked at the jacket again, then at a folder on the table. Prenatal appointment reminders, patient name listed as Mara Dennison. Not Hollis, not even Quill, her maiden name. A fake name. "Evan know?" I asked. "Evan knows what he needs to know." "And Troy Vance?" Her smile widened. "Troy knows plenty." That's when she laughed, not nervous, not guilty, just cold and bright, like I'd told a joke she'd heard before. I should have left, should have called Evan, should have done 100 things a decent father would do. Instead, I said, "You should read the paperwork you signed when I gave you this house." Her laugh stopped. "What paperwork?" "The Life Estate Trust. You and Evan live here as long as I allow it. But the deed, the controlling interest, the inspection rights." I tapped the countertop. "All mine, forever." Her face went flat. "That's not legal." "It's completely legal. June Ortega filed it herself at the county recorder's office. You signed the acknowledgement form. So did Evan. Neither of you read it. You were too busy planning your Instagram reveal." She set her glass down, hard. "Get out." "It's my house, Mara. It's our house." "No, it's my house that you get to live in. Big difference." Her jaw tightened. She grabbed her phone off the counter, fingers flying across the screen. Probably texting Evan. Probably texting Troy. Probably texting her lawyer, if she had one. I picked up the box of cabinet pulls. "I'll let myself out. Don't come back. I don't need to. I own the place. I can come back whenever I want." I walked out. My hands were shaking. Not from anger. From something uglier. The feeling you get when you realize you've been played and you didn't even see the game starting. I got halfway down the driveway when Evan's truck pulled in. He hopped out, grinning, holding a bag from the hardware store. "Dad, didn't know you were stopping by." "Just dropping off some pulls," I said. Mara appeared in the doorway behind him, arms folded, phone in hand. She looked at me like I was something she'd stepped in. "Your father was just leaving," she said. "He let himself in without calling." Evan's grin faded. "Dad, we talked about this." I knocked. "You used your key." "The door was open." "That's not the point." He glanced back at Mara, then at me. "You can't just show up whenever. This is our house now." I wanted to tell him the truth right there, about the jacket, about the fake name, about the trust he'd never bothered to read, about the baby that probably wasn't his. Instead, I said, "Check the documents, Evan. The ones you signed without reading." "What are you talking about?" "The trust papers, the deed, the acknowledgement form with your signature on it. Read them. Tonight. Every word." His face went red. "Why are you being like this?" "Because someone has to." I walked past him, got in my truck, and drove 3 blocks before I had to pull over. My chest felt tight, not a heart attack, just rage with nowhere to go. I sat there for 5 minutes, breathing, until my phone buzzed. A text from June Ortega, the city clerk aide who helped me pull public records when I needed them. "June, saw the permit app for Fisher Street. You know they're adding a deck without approval, right?" I didn't, but now I did. I texted back, "Send me everything you have." June, already in your email, 3 violations minimum, gas line, Structural cuts, no railing inspections. Want me to flag it? Me, not yet, I'll handle it. I drove home, poured 2 fingers of bourbon I didn't drink, and sat at my kitchen table staring at the stack of mail I'd been ignoring. Bills, junk, a heavy cream envelope at the bottom. I opened it. Wedding invitation. Evan and Mara's reception, second celebration, apparently, for the family and friends who couldn't make the destination ceremony. A renovated mill ballroom downtown. Black tie optional. Adults only. Next Saturday. There was a handwritten note inside, Mara's looping script, bring the apartment keys, we're upgrading. I read it twice. Then I folded it, set it on the table, and made a list. Things I knew for certain. Mara was pregnant with another man's child. She was hiding it under a fake name. She'd laughed in my face when I caught her. And now she wanted my apartment. Things I didn't know. If Evan suspected, if he cared, if he'd chosen this life or stumbled into it. Things I was going to find out. All of the above. I opened my laptop and started pulling records. Business filings for Evan's LLC, permit applications, vendor contracts, social media analytics for Mara's influencer accounts, publicly available through her media kit. By midnight, I had a picture. Evan's company was hemorrhaging money. 3 jobs behind schedule. 2 clients threatening to sue for delays. His registered agent had been changed last week. Not to me, not to a lawyer, but to someone named Quill. Mara's cousin. Mara's influencer income was stronger than I'd thought. 60,000 followers. Sponsorship deals with home decor brands, a mattress company, and a meal kit service. Her engagement rate was good. Her audience trusted her. And she was selling them a lie. Perfect marriage, perfect house, perfect life. All built on my gift, my money, my work. I closed the laptop and stared at the wall. 20 years ago, I'd pulled people from burning buildings as a volunteer firefighter. I'd saved lives. I'd earned respect. And then my wife died in a car accident on a rainy night, and the man who tried to save her, Darren Pike, vanished out of shame because he couldn't. I'd spent 2 decades being the quiet guy, the helpful guy, the guy who fixed problems and didn't ask for credit. And where had it gotten me? A son who didn't read contracts, a daughter-in-law who laughed in my face, a daughter who weaponized family trauma for podcast content. I picked up the wedding invitation and ran my thumb over Mara's handwriting. Bring the apartment keys. We're upgrading. Not a request, a demand. I smiled. Not warm, not kind, just cold. Okay, I said to the empty room. Let's upgrade. While you're here, hit the hype button, don't forget to subscribe, and support this channel with a like. And tell us below, have you ever faced something like this? The mill ballroom had been a working factory once. Textiles, then furniture, then nothing for 30 years, until developers turned it into event space. Exposed brick, Edison bulbs, a bar made from reclaimed dock planks. 200 guests, maybe more. Half of them holding phones. Ria Lawton, the local lifestyle blogger, had a corner staked out with a ring light and a tripod. She was live streaming the whole thing to her 15,000 followers. She waved at me when I walked in, all teeth and highlights. I wore a suit, not the good one. The one I used for inspections when I needed to look official but not fancy. Dark grey, plain tie, shoes I could walk in if things got complicated. Mara spotted me from across the room, and her smile went sharp. She wore white, not a wedding dress, but close enough. Off-shoulder, fitted, showing just enough belly to make people wonder without asking. Evan didn't see me yet. He was busy near the cake, laughing with his crew, guys from his contracting LLC, most of them younger than him, all of them convinced they'd be rich by 30. I found a spot near the back, close to the exit, and waited. The bartender brought me a beer I didn't order. From the bride, he said. I looked at the bottle, looked at Mara across the room. She raised her glass and smiled. I set the beer down and didn't touch it. The speeches started. Evan's best man, some kid I didn't know, told a story about a job site prank involving a nail gun and a pair of work boots. People laughed. Mara's maid of honor talked about vision boards and manifesting abundance. More laughter, but thinner. Then Mara took the microphone. She thanked everyone for coming. She thanked Evan for building a life with her. She thanked her sponsors, actually said the word sponsors, like this was a product launch and not a wedding reception. Then she looked right at me. And I want to thank Caleb, she said, voice bright and sharp, the mic feedback making people wince. Evan's dad, for everything he's done, for the house, for his support, and for what he's going to do tonight. The room went quiet. Phones came up. Caleb, she said, smiling wider now. You brought the keys, right? To your apartment downtown? The one we're moving into next month? I didn't move. We talked about this, she said, louder now, like I hadn't heard her the first time. You said you'd hand them over tonight, in front of everyone, as a gesture of support. I still didn't move. Her smile cracked at the edges. Don't be clingy, Caleb. It's not a good look. I stood up, slow, deliberate. Walked toward her. The room held its breath. She held out her hand, palm up, waiting for keys I'd never agreed to give. No, I said. Her hand dropped. Her face went red. The mic feedback squealed. Excuse me? I said no. You're embarrassing yourself. I don't think I am. She stepped closer, voice dropping to a hiss that the mic still caught. Everyone's watching. I know. You're really going to do this? I'm really going to do this. And then she slapped me. Not hard, but loud. The crack echoed off the brick walls. Gasps, phones up. Ria's ring light swung toward us like a spotlight. I didn't touch my face, didn't flinch, didn't say a word. Just turned and walked outside. The cold air hit like a slap of its own. I stood in the parking lot, hands in my pockets, breathing hard. My face stung, but I didn't care. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to a number I'd saved 2 weeks ago after June helped me track it down through public pension records. Darren Pike, retired paramedic, the man who pulled half this town from a factory fire 20 years ago. The man who tried, and failed, to save my wife when her car went off the coast road in the rain. The man who saved Mara's mother from the same fire that made him a hero. The man who disappeared after my wife died because he couldn't live with the failure. I'd found him 3 weeks ago, living 2 towns over, working part-time at a hardware store, keeping his head down. We'd had coffee, we'd talked, he'd cried, and he'd told me he owed me. He answered on the second ring. Caleb, I need you to do something for me, I said. Right now. What is it? Put on your old uniform, the one with the medal, and meet me at the Mill Ballroom on Osprey Street. Silence. Darren, please. What are you doing? Something I should have done a long time ago. More silence. Then, I'll be there in 10. I hung up, went back inside. The party had restarted. Music, laughter, people pretending the slap hadn't happened. But phones were still out. People were still recording. Mara was at the bar, drinking something clear and bubbly, surrounded by friends. They were laughing, loud, performative. Evan stood next to her, his jaw tight, his hand on her back. He saw me walk in and looked away. I stayed near the door, checked my watch. 8 minutes. Ria approached, mic in hand, camera rolling. Caleb, can I get a statement about what just happened? No. People are saying you refused to give your son and daughter-in-law the keys to your apartment. Is that true? They're saying a lot of things. But is it true? I don't owe you an explanation, Ria. Your followers deserve to know. I don't have followers. I have a life. There's a difference. I walked past her, found a corner, waited. 9 minutes later, the door opened. Darren Pike walked in. He was 58, grey at the temples, but he carried himself like a man 10 years younger. Pressed uniform, The old fire department blues, cleaned and starched, polished boots, the medal pinned just above his heart, the one the mayor gave him after the fire, the one he'd tried to return and they wouldn't let him. The room went silent. Someone gasped, then someone else. Then a woman near the front started crying. Mara turned, saw him, and her face went white. She knew him. Everyone in this town over 30 knew him. Darren walked to the microphone, didn't ask permission, just took it from the stand. "Evening," he said, voice calm and steady, the way it probably sounded over the radio during the fire. "Some of you know me. Some of you remember what I did. And some of you forgot." He looked at Mara. "I saved your mother 20 years ago," he said. "Pulled her from the 4th floor when the stairwell collapsed. She doesn't remember. You were 6. But I remember." Mara's drink slipped from her hand. It shattered on the floor. "Some people ask for keys," Darren said. "Some people learn what doors they locked behind them." He set the microphone down and walked toward the exit. The room erupted. Whispers, shouts, phones everywhere. Ria's livestream chat exploded. I could see it on someone's screen near me, scrolling faster than anyone could read. And then Troy Vance stood up from a table near the back. I'd seen him 3 times before, once at a union meeting, once outside the house on Fisher Street, once loading tools at the marina. Broad shoulders, short fuse, the kind of guy who solved problems with his hands first and his brain second. He walked straight at me. "You think you're clever?" he said. "I think you should sit down. You bring that old man here to embarrass her. I brought him here to remind her where she came from." He shoved me. I stepped back, kept my hands loose. He shoved again, harder, and I slipped sideways. He lunged. I sidestepped. He tripped over a chair leg and crashed face first into the cake table. Frosting. Screams. Phones recording everything. The table tipped. The cake, 3 tiers, fondant, probably cost $2,000, slid across the floor. Troy flailed, trying to stand, slipping in buttercream. I pulled a zip tie from my pocket, the kind we used on job sites to bundle cables, and knelt next to him while he was still off balance. Looped it around his wrists, not tight enough to hurt, just tight enough to hold. "Stay down," I said. He tried to kick me. Missed. Slipped again. Venue security arrived. 2 guys in black polos, radios crackling. They looked at Troy, looked at me, looked at the destroyed cake. "We're calling the cops," one of them said. "No need," I said. He slipped. I helped. "We're done here." "Sir, we need statements." "Then take them, but I'm leaving." I stood, pulled the zip tie cutter from my other pocket and snipped Troy loose. He scrambled back, breathing hard, frosting in his hair. "You're insane," he said. "No, I'm just done being nice." I turned to leave and saw Evan staring at me. Not angry, not confused, just hollow, like he'd watched something break that he didn't know how to fix. Mara stood next to him, shaking, mascara running, phone in her hand. Recording. Still recording. I walked past them both and didn't look back. Outside, Darren was waiting by my truck. "That go the way you wanted?" he asked. "Better. What now?" "Now I finish it." He nodded. Didn't ask what that meant. Just shook my hand and walked to his car. I got in my truck and drove home. My phone buzzed the entire way. Texts, calls, notifications. I ignored all of them. Ria's blog post went live at midnight. Father refuses keys, bride slaps him, war hero appears, chaos at mill reception. 3,000 views by morning, 5,000 by noon, 10,000 by dinner. The video clip, Mara slapping me, Darren walking in, Troy crashing into the cake, went viral on every platform she could feed it to. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn. The comments were vicious. Who slaps someone at their own wedding? That dad is a legend. The hero showing up? Chills. I would die for that old man. But there were others. He seems controlling. Red flag. Why would he humiliate his son's wife in public? Toxic parents ruin families. This is elder abuse waiting to happen. That last comment thread was long, detailed, coordinated, and it came from Lena, my daughter, 24, podcaster, 3,000 subscribers, who hung on every word she said about family trauma, boundary setting, narcissistic parents, and cutting off toxic people. Her episode dropped 2 days after the wedding. Toxic parents of the coast, when fathers use gifts as control. She didn't say my name. Didn't have to. She described the wedding, the slap, the mysterious hero who appeared out of nowhere like a movie villain's henchman. And then she painted me as the villain, the father who couldn't let go, who weaponized generosity, who humiliated his daughter-in-law in front of 200 people because she dared to set boundaries. He gave them a house, she said, voice steady and serious, the way she always sounded when she wanted people to believe her. But he kept the deed. He gave them a gift with strings attached. And when they tried to move forward with their lives, he punished them, publicly, violently. I listened to the whole thing, twice. Then I called June. I need everything, I said. Permits, violations, business filings, court records, anything public on Evans LLC and Mara's influencer company. How deep? Deep enough to bury them. She paused. You sure about this? I'm sure. Okay, give me 2 days. She delivered in one. Evans LLC, Hollis Contracting, had 3 open permit violations across 2 job sites, unpermitted deck additions, missing railing inspections, and an open gas line that should have been capped and tagged 6 weeks ago. Mara's influencer company, MQ Media LLC, had 2 unpaid vendor lawsuits in small claims court, a photographer, a graphic designer, both under $1,000, both ignored. And the house on Fisher Street, the one I'd given them, had 7 code violations I'd never filed because I'd been trying to be the good guy. Not anymore. I scheduled a routine inspection, called the office, put it on the books, made it official. June met me there on a Thursday morning. She didn't ask why, just handed me a clipboard and waited in her car. I walked the property, checked every inch. The deck they'd added was beautiful. Cedar planks, stainless hardware, built-in benches. Probably cost $15,000. It was also illegal. The support beams had been notched, cut into, to make room for the framing. Code violation, structural compromise. The gas line cap was missing from the exterior meter. Open pipe, exposed threads, 1 spark and the whole place could go up. The railing height was 2 inches below code. Minor, but still a violation. I documented everything. Photos, measurements, notes. Then I filled out the red tag and posted it on the front door. Notice of violation. Occupancy prohibited until corrections made my phone rang 30 seconds later. Evan, screaming, "What the hell are you doing?" My job. This is our house. This is an unsafe structure. You're not living here until it's fixed. You're doing this because you're angry. I'm doing this because your deck is going to collapse and your gas line is going to explode. Fix it or don't, but you're not occupying that house until you do. We have nowhere else to go. Then fix it faster. You're insane. No, I'm just following the law. He hung up. Mara posted on Instagram an hour later, a photo of the red tag on the door, caption in all caps, "When your father-in-law uses his job to punish you for setting boundaries." Toxic family, us inspector abuse. Auxam, help us. The comments were split, half supportive, half calling her out. Girl, you built without a permit. That's on you. This is what narcissistic parents do. I'm so sorry. Maybe follow the law next time. He's literally trying to make you homeless. And then someone, I never found out who, sent me a screenshot. A private DM. Mara to someone named Jess. We need to keep baiting the old man for content. The slap was perfect. If we can get him to snap again on camera, we'll blow up. This is the content people want. Raw, Real. Family drama. I stared at the screenshot for 5 minutes. Then I printed it, saved the metadata, and decided to stop playing defense. I wasn't the good guy anymore. I was the problem, and problems don't apologize. I tracked Troy to the ferry terminal on a Thursday morning. He was loading tools into the back of a van. Expensive stuff, still in the cases. Milwaukee, DeWalt, Makita, thousands of dollars worth. I took photos from across the parking lot, zoomed in on the serial numbers stamped on the handles and the cases. Then I pulled up the county theft reports on my phone. Searched by date, by brand, by description. 3 matches. Milwaukee impact driver, serial ending in 4739. Reported stolen from a job site on Crescent Avenue 2 weeks ago. DeWalt table saw, serial ending in 8821. Reported stolen from a storage unit downtown 3 weeks ago. Makita drill set, serial ending in 5B503. Reported stolen from a contractor's truck last month. I saved the screenshots, cross-referenced the photos. Perfect match. Troy saw me, stopped loading, stared. "You following me now?" he said. "Public space," I said. "What do you want?" "Just documenting." "Documenting what?" I held up my phone. "Those tools, the ones you're loading, 3 of them match active theft reports." His face went red. "You don't know what you're talking about. I know serial numbers, I know public records, and I know you're about to have a very bad day." He dropped the case he was holding and walked toward me. Fast. I backed up, kept the phone steady, kept recording. "Delete that," he said. "No. Delete it or I'll make you delete it." "Try." He swung. I ducked, slipped on the wet concrete, caught myself on a bollard. My phone skidded across the ground. He grabbed my jacket, shoved me against the railing. Salt spray hit my face. The ferry horn blasted. I hooked my leg behind his, twisted, and we both went down. Hard. People shouted. A ferry guard ran over, whistle blowing. "Break it up, both of you." Troy rolled off me, breathing hard, frosting from 2 days ago, still somehow in his hair. I stood, hands up, non-threatening. The guard looked at me, looked at Troy, then looked at the van. "That your van?" the guard asked Troy. "Yeah." "Those your tools?" Troy hesitated. "I'm moving them for a job." "Uh-huh." The guard pulled out a radio. "Run the plates, check for reports." I picked up my phone. Screen cracked, but still working. I handed it to the guard. "Serial numbers are here. 3 matches to theft reports filed in the last month. All documented, all public record." The guard looked at the photos, looked at Troy. His face went hard. "Stay here," he said. "No," I said. "I'm just standing here." The guard came back 15 minutes later with 2 more officers and a report form. They talked to Troy, talked to me. Took statements from 3 witnesses who'd seen the whole thing. Troy got a citation, not an arrest, not yet, but his name went into the system. The tools got impounded pending verification, and the union reps got copied on the report. By the end of the day, every job site in town knew Troy Vance was under investigation for receiving stolen property. I walked back to my truck, ribs aching where I'd hit the ground, and checked my phone. 12 missed calls. 20 texts. 1 from June. June. FYI, Evans LLC just filed a change of registered agent. You're not listed anymore. New agent is someone named Quill. Mara's cousin. I read it twice. They were cutting me out. Officially, legally. I started the truck and drove to City Hall. The condo board meeting was held in a conference room above a coffee shop downtown. 20 people, folding chairs, a PowerPoint projected on the wall showing budget line items and maintenance schedules. Evans Contracting LLC had bid on a lobby renovation job. New floors, updated lighting, ADA-compliant ramps. A $60,000 contract. The biggest job his company had landed in 2 years. I sat in the back, hadn't told anyone I was coming. The board president, a retired accountant named Phyllis, with reading glasses on a chain, called Evan up to present. He looked sharp, button-down shirt, clean work boots, a leather folder full of reference photos and timelines. He walked them through the scope of work, the materials, the subcontractors, the safety plan. He was good, confident, professional. For a moment, I felt proud. Then the board opened the floor for questions. I raised my hand. Phyllis squinted at me. Yes? State your name for the record. Caleb Hollis, City Building Inspector. Evan's face went white. I have a question about safety compliance, I said, specifically regarding Mr. Hollis's track record on active job sites. Phyllis frowned. Is this relevant to the bid? It's directly relevant. I have photos from Mr. Hollis's last 3 job sites, time-stamped, geotagged, showing multiple OSHA violations, no fall protection, no harnesses, workers on residential roofs without proper rigging or safety rails. The room went silent. Evan stood frozen at the front. I pulled out my phone, opened my email. I'm sending them to you now, Phyllis. Feel free to verify the timestamps and locations, all public record. Phyllis's phone buzzed. She opened the email, clicked through the photos. Her frown deepened. These are serious, she said. They are, I said, and they're recent, 2 of them from last week. Evan found his voice. Those are out of context. We were in the middle of setting up the rigging when those were taken. The timestamps show a 4-hour window. Your crew was up there for 4 hours without harnesses. We had them on site. On site isn't the same as in use. Phyllis looked at the other board members. They were whispering, scrolling through their phones. Mr. Hollis, Phyllis said, I'm afraid we're going to need time to review these safety concerns before we can move forward. This is ridiculous, Evan said. He's my father. This is personal. This is procedural, Phyllis said. Motion to table the contract pending safety remediation and third-party verification of compliance. 3 hands went up, then a 4th. Motion passes, Phyllis said. We'll revisit this in 60 days. Evan grabbed his folder, face red, and stormed out. I stayed seated. Phyllis looked at me. That was your son. I know. You just cost him $60,000. No, he cost himself $60,000 when he cut corners. I just documented it. She didn't respond, just closed her laptop and walked out. The room emptied. I sat there alone for a minute, staring at the empty chair where Evan had stood. My phone buzzed. A text from Lena. Lena, we need to talk. I have audio. Mara's planning something bad. Meet me at Joe's diner in an hour. Come alone. I stared at the message. Then I stood up and walked out into the cold. Joe's diner was a 24-hour place near the waterfront. Greasy spoons, booths with duct-taped vinyl, coffee that tasted like burnt tar. Lena was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth, laptop open, headphones around her neck. I slid into the seat across from her. What is it? I asked. She turned the laptop toward me, hit play. Mara's voice clear and sharp, no background noise. A phone call, recorded. We stage it at Caleb's apartment, make it look like he trashed the place. I'll cry on camera. Troy can rough up the lock. We'll say he's escalating, threatening us, content for weeks, maybe months. A second voice, Lena's. You sure this'll work? It worked with the slap, didn't it? People eat this stuff up. Toxic parent content is huge right now. We just need one more big moment and we're set. Sponsors will come back. Maybe even a book deal. What if he fights back? He won't. He's too worried about looking like the bad guy. He'll just take it. I stared at the screen. When did she send you this? I asked. Last week. She wanted me to help promote it. I recorded the call. Why are you showing me? Lena closed the laptop, leaned back. Because I want a cut. If you're taking her down, I want credit, exclusive access. I'll flip on her on my podcast. I'll make you the hero. My audience will eat it up. And what do you get? Subscribers. Sponsorships, a bigger platform. She smiled. And the satisfaction of watching Mara crash and burn. I stood up. You set this up, the wedding, the slap. You dared her to do it, didn't you? She didn't answer. You dared her, I said again, for content, for views. People want drama, Dad. I just gave them what they wanted. You used your own family. So did you. I leaned down, hands on the table. Stay away from me. Stay away from Evan. And if I see you anywhere near my apartment, I'll have you arrested. You wouldn't. Try me. I walked out, left her sitting there with her laptop and her ambition and her 3,000 subscribers who thought she was brave. I drove to the hardware store, bought 2 motion sensor cameras, a locksmith's business card, and a bright orange sign that read, Notice, Video Surveillance in Progress. Then I went home and started setting the trap. I mounted the cameras in the hallway outside my apartment door on Friday afternoon, one facing the door straight on, one angled toward the stairwell, both wireless, both streaming to my phone, both recording to a cloud backup. Then I taped the bright orange sign to the door frame. Big letters. Impossible to miss. Legally compliant. I called the locksmith, a guy named Ed who'd done work for me before, and asked him to be on standby Friday night. What am I standing by for? He asked. Witness duty. Someone might try to break into my apartment. I need you there to document it. You calling the cops? Eventually. But I need a witness first. Neutral third party. Someone who can testify that everything was recorded legally and that the suspects were warned. How much? 200. Cash. Just show up and watch. Deal. I called Darren next. I need you again, I said. What now? Same thing as before. Just show up and be yourself. Lobby of my building, 10 p.m. Don't leave until I call you. Caleb, please. He sighed. I'll be there. Then I waited. I sat in my truck 2 blocks away, phone in my lap, watching the camera feeds. At 10:47 p.m., Mara and Troy appeared at the top of the stairwell. They stopped outside my door, looked around, saw the cameras, saw the sign. Mara pointed at it, said something I couldn't hear. Troy shook his head. She pointed again, more emphatic. He pulled something from his jacket, a pry bar, short, black, the kind you use for demo work. I called Ed. They're here. Get to the building. 3rd floor. Now. On my way. I called Darren. They're about to break in. Get upstairs. Caleb, if they're breaking in, you need to call the police. I will, after we have everything documented. I hung up, watched the feed. Troy wedged the pry bar into the door frame. Mara stood next to him, phone out, recording. Make it look rough, she said. Clear as day. The camera caught it. Troy levered the bar. The frame splintered. The door popped open. They stepped inside. I dialed non-emergency dispatch. This is Caleb Hollis, 447 Maritime Avenue, Apartment 3C. I'm reporting an attempted break-in at my residence. Suspects are on site now. I have video evidence. I'm not in the apartment. I'm calling from a remote location. Are the suspects armed? Unknown, but they used a pry bar to force entry. Units are en route. Stay on the line. I watched the feed. Mara and Troy moved through my apartment, knocking over a lamp, pulling books off the shelf, opening drawers. Then Darren appeared in the hallway behind them. That's far enough, he said. They both froze. Darren didn't touch them, didn't raise his voice. Just stood there in the doorway, arms crossed, blocking the exit. You should leave, Mara said. No, Darren said. You should stay right where you are. Ed arrived next, ran up the stairs, saw the scene, pulled out his phone and started recording. Locksmith, he said. Neutral witness. I'm documenting everything. Troy tried to move toward the door. Darren stepped in front of him. Don't, Darren said. The police arrived 3 minutes later. 2 officers, one older, one younger. They took statements, checked IDs, reviewed the camera footage on my phone. I'd sent it to myself from the cloud backup. Mara tried to explain, said they were worried about me, said they thought something was wrong, said they had permission from Evan to check on me. The officers didn't buy it. The sign clearly states video surveillance, the older officer said. You were warned. You forced entry anyway, and we have you on camera saying, make it look rough. That was taken out of context, Mara said. Ma'am, there's no context where that's legal. They filed a report. No arrest, just documentation, but it went on record, time-stamped, witnessed, notarized by Ed as a third party. Lena live-streamed the whole thing from the stairwell. I didn't know she was there until I saw the notification later. 30,000 viewers. Live. Her caption, Caught. Family drama reaches breaking point. Full breakdown on my podcast Monday. Mara's sponsors pulled their deals by morning. All of them. The mattress company, the meal kits, the home decor brands. Her follower count dropped by 8,000 in 2 days. Evan showed up at my apartment Sunday morning. His face was hollow. His eyes were red. He didn't knock, just stood in the hallway outside my door, the one Troy had splintered, and stared at the damage. You won, he said. Are you happy now? No. Then what do you want? I want you to fix the house. I want you to pay back the condo board for wasting their time. I want you to take the apprenticeship at City Works that I lined up 2 years ago. And I want you to walk away from Mara. She's my wife. She's using you. So are you. No, I'm trying to save you. He spat on the ground between us, and he left. I watched him walk away, watched him disappear down the stairs, and I felt nothing. I stopped pretending to be the good guy. I filed formal re-inspection notices on every open job site Evans LLC was running. All legal, all justified, all documented. I found violations on 3 of them. Minor stuff, mostly. Missing hard hats, improper scaffolding. One site had an open trench without barriers. I tagged them all. Evan's phone calls went straight to voicemail. I didn't listen to them. I gave an interview to the local construction newsletter, a small trade publication that every contractor in town read, about safety culture and the importance of following codes. I didn't name Evan. Didn't have to. The article quoted me extensively. Talked about the rise in violations, the pressure to finish jobs fast, the younger generation of contractors who thought rules didn't apply to them. Every contractor in town knew exactly who I was talking about. Mara tried to pivot, posted a tearful video to Instagram, sitting on the floor of a friend's apartment, talking about growth and accountability and learning from mistakes. I made choices I'm not proud of, she said, tears streaming, voice shaking. I let the pressure of social media and the need for content cloud my judgment. I hurt people I love, and I'm sorry. The comments were brutal. Too late. You're only sorry because you got caught. Fake tears, fake apology, fake person. Her remaining sponsors, a yoga mat company and a water bottle brand, pulled out anyway. I found out where her next sponsor meeting was scheduled. A cafe downtown. She was pitching a redemption arc series to a wellness brand. I showed up early, stood on the sidewalk outside, played the hallway footage on my phone, the one where she said, make it look rough, for anyone walking by. 2 people from the wellness brand saw it before they went inside. They turned around and left. The meeting was cancelled. Mara's mother sent me a message that night. Unknown number. This is Catherine Quill, Mara's mother. I wanted to thank you for what you did. Darren saved my life 20 years ago. I never forgot. But Mara did. She forgot where she came from. I'm sorry for what she put you through. I didn't reply, just saved the message. Then June called. I found something, she said. You're going to want to see this. I met her at a coffee shop near City Hall. She pulled up a file on her laptop. Emails, invoices, contracts. Lena and Mara, back and forth for 6 weeks. The first email was dated 3 days before the wedding. Mara to Lena. If we can get him to blow up on camera at the reception, I'll edit it into a mini-series. 3 episodes minimum, split the ad revenue 50-50. My audience loves family drama. Yours does too. This could be huge for both of us. Lena to Mara. What if he doesn't blow up? Mara to Lena. Then we make him. I'll ask for the keys. Publicly. He'll say no. I'll push. If he still doesn't crack, I'll slap him. That'll get a reaction. Lena to Mara. You're insane. Mara to Lena. You're in. Lena to Mara. I'm in. I scrolled through the rest. Dozens of messages, planning the slap, coordinating the live stream, drafting the podcast episode, splitting projected revenue. They'd planned everything. June looked at me. What are you going to do? I'm going to bury them. I printed every page, highlighted the timestamps, saved the metadata, and sent copies to Lena's top sponsors. Her podcast lost 3 sponsorship deals in 2 days. Her subscriber count dropped by 1,500. She posted a video trying to explain, crying, apologizing, talking about learning and growing. The comments were worse than Mara's. You used your own father for content. Disgusting. Never listening again. I watched the whole thing. Didn't feel guilty, didn't feel satisfied, just felt tired. My phone rang. Evan. I answered. What do you want? I said. His voice was quiet, shaking. I know what she did. I saw the invoices. She's been billing my company for her content production. Thousands of dollars. I didn't even know. I know. How long have you known? 2 weeks. Silence. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? More silence. There's a job, he said. Overnight demo at the old mill. Off the books. Cash. I took it because I'm desperate. Mara drained everything. Don't do it. I have to. Evan, I have to. He hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone, and made a decision. The old mill sat on the waterfront, half renovated, half abandoned, like a relic paused in mid-sentence. The developers had run out of money 2 years ago, leaving the project in a state of suspended decay. One side of the building still wore the scaffolding they'd never bothered to take down. The other side sagged under a century of salt air and neglect. Wind whistled through broken panes. Tarps snapped on the upper floors like angry flags. The place had the uneasy stillness of something waiting to collapse, but too stubborn to do it without an audience. Evan's truck was already parked outside when I arrived at midnight. So was Troy's van, and the sight of both vehicles together was the confirmation I had hoped I wouldn't get. No surf, no gulls, just the distant hum of the highway and the rhythmic tap of loose siding against the brick. The moonlight hit the flooded loading dock, turning dark water into a sheet of tarnished metal. I dialed June. I need witnesses, I said the second she answered. City councillor, fire inspector, anyone who can get here fast. What's happening? Her voice sharpened. She knew I didn't make late-night calls for nothing. Unpermitted demo work, unsafe conditions, possibly structural damage already. If we don't shut this down tonight, someone's going to die. I'll make calls, she said. No hesitation. That's why I trusted her. I got out and walked toward the yawning entrance, stepping over puddles that reflected the jagged outline of the mill. Inside, the ground floor was gutted. Bare concrete, exposed rebar, piles of debris stacked like miniature landslides. Dust clung to the air in a haze, thick enough to taste. The smell was a mix of old wood, rust, and the sharp bite of overheated power tools. I could hear voices upstairs, and the whine of metal cutting through wood. I climbed the stairs, the metal treads vibrating under my boots. The second-floor catwalk stretched out ahead of me. Narrow, grated metal, railings missing in places where someone had already tried to salvage the scrap. Below, the old factory floor was a shadowed pit of rubble and half-collapsed framing. One wrong step, and you'd fall far enough to learn something permanent about gravity. Evan was on the catwalk, crowbar in hand, prying up century-old floorboards, like they were pieces of an argument he'd already lost. Troy stood next to him, running a reciprocating saw through what had once been a support beam. Sparks popped and shot over the edge, falling into the darkness below. "Stop," I shouted, voice ricocheting through the vast interior. They both turned. Evan's face was hollow. He'd lost weight, and not the kind you lose on purpose. His once sharp features had sunk inward, like someone had pressed pause on him halfway through dissolving. His eyes were red, not from tears, but from stress, sawdust, and a steady diet of sleepless nights. "Get out," he said. "This isn't permitted," I told him. "You're going to bring the whole floor down." "I don't care." "Yes," I said, stepping closer, voice low but steady. "You do. Or you wouldn't be here trying to tear it apart yourself." I said, "Get out." Troy shut off the saw, set it down, and started toward me. His boots clanged on the catwalk, sending a shiver through the poorly braced structure. "You heard him," Troy said, squaring up, breath reeking of cheap beer and something sweeter. Maybe adrenaline. "This building isn't safe," I said. "You're cutting through structural supports. The catwalk isn't rated for more than one person at a time, and you're putting 3 on it plus equipment." "We know what we're doing," Troy said. "No," I said. "You really, really don't." He shoved me. It wasn't a warning push. It was the kind that came from someone who thinks force is a shortcut to winning. I grabbed the railing, but the railing wasn't attached the way a railing should be. Bolts groaned, metal shifted, the whole section lurched outward, like it had been waiting for a reason to give up. Troy shoved again, harder. My hand slipped. I fell sideways, scraped my palms on the grating, and then I wasn't standing anymore. I was hanging. Legs dangling over open air, 20 feet above a floor littered with jagged rebar and shattered brick. A fall wouldn't just hurt. It would open me up like a dropped watermelon. Evan dropped the crowbar. It clattered and bounced, loud as a gunshot in the cavernous space. "Troy, stop!" he yelled. Troy grabbed my wrist. For half a second, I thought he was helping, but the look in his eyes wasn't relief. It was the thrill of control. He pulled, not to save me, to drag me back up so he could shove me again, finish what he started. I used my rescue training, 20 years of pulling people from worse places than this. I twisted, hooked my free arm through a gap in the grating, locked my legs around a support pole. Pain shot through my shoulder, but pain meant I was still alive. Troy tried to yank me loose. Couldn't. Evan grabbed him from behind. "Stop! Just stop, you idiot!" Sirens wailed outside, faint at first, then closer, layering urgency into the air. Troy let go, muttering curses, but didn't fight when Evan pulled him back. Firefighters swarmed in minutes later, helmets, lights, radios crackling. They swept the building, cleared everyone out, checked for immediate collapse threats. Their boots left prints in the dust like signatures on the end of a bad idea. A lieutenant started filing citations faster than Troy could come up with excuses. June arrived with a city councillor and a fire marshal. The councillor's face wasn't angry. It was already composing the speech he'd give at the next hearing. The fire marshal, meanwhile, walked with the slow, practiced patience of a man who had seen every way humans could sabotage their own survival. They took photos, measurements, statements, documented everything. In the middle of the chaos, I saw something the firefighters didn't care about because it wasn't going to fall on anyone. A folding table near the stairwell. Covered in paperwork, neat stacks. Too neat for a construction site. Invoices, contracts. I walked over and started reading. Evans LLC at the top of each document. Payments issued monthly. All addressed to MQ Media Consulting. Mara's company, $5,000, $3,000, $7,000. On and on, line after line, dozens of invoices, all marked content production, branding, social strategy, marketing services. Every Instagram post about the house, Every TikTok video of demo day, every behind-the-scenes live stream of their relationship turned into a renovation fairy tale. She'd been billing him for the performance of loving him, and he'd been paying her to stay. She'd drained him dry. Evan walked over and saw what I was holding, saw the column of payments and the signature at the bottom of each invoice. His face didn't break all at once. It split in slow motion, like something already cracked that finally gave up pretending it wasn't. "She said it was for marketing," he whispered. "She said it would help the business." "It didn't," I said. "I know." He looked at Troy, then at me, then back at Mara's name, typed in glossy, confident font at the bottom of every page. Something in him broke. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just a quiet internal snapping, the kind that leaves a person too tired to keep lying to themselves. "I'm done," he said. "Good. What do I do now?" "You fix this, all of it, starting with the house. And maybe the part of you that thought this was the only way to keep someone." He didn't argue, just nodded. A man finally out of fight, but maybe not out of forward motion. The fire marshal walked over. "This site is closed pending structural review. Nobody works here until we evaluate the integrity of the building." "Understood," I said for all of us, because neither Evan nor Troy had the voice left to respond. They left, quiet, no more shouting, no more posturing. Just two men walking out of the wreckage they'd built, physically and otherwise. I stayed behind, helping the firefighters mark hazard zones, tagging unstable beams with bright orange tape, logging the sections that needed emergency bracing. The sky went from black to indigo to pale grey. By the time the sun finally scraped its way over the horizon, the mill looked like a crime scene and a confession booth all at once. I stood outside, breathing in cold salt air, trying to steady the ache in my arms. Behind me, the building creaked in the rising heat, as if rearranging the weight of all the unfinished stories it held. It would stand a little longer, long enough for a second chance, or long enough to be taken down the right way. Sometimes that was the best outcome anyone got, and sometimes it was enough. I filed the trust enforcement petition on Monday morning, walked into the county courthouse, filled out the forms, paid the filing fee, and submitted the documentation. The building smelled like old paper, coffee, and a quiet kind of desperation, the kind that clings to people waiting for legal outcomes they can't afford to lose. I'd been there enough times to know which clerk processed civil filings the fastest, which elevator stuck between floors, which hallway echoed just enough to make private conversations feel public, routine, but not simple. Nothing about this had ever been simple. Evan and Mara had violated the terms of the Life Estate Trust. Multiple code violations, unpermitted construction, unsafe occupancy. They'd treated the property like a stage and the law like a suggestion. But the trust wasn't a suggestion. It was a contract. One I'd built to protect the house, the land, and the family legacy that used to mean something before it became a prop in influencer theatrics. The law was clear. They had to vacate. The judge signed the temporary order that afternoon. It wasn't dramatic. No gavel slam, no raised voices. Just a nod, a signature, a stamp. The end of one era printed in black ink on county letterhead. I watched the clerk slide the papers into a manila envelope, seal it, and hand it back to me, like she was giving me a takeout receipt, instead of the document that would rip apart what was left of Evan's illusion. I had it delivered by a process server Tuesday morning. No knock and run. No tape to the door theatrics. Hand-delivered, witnessed, recorded. Been through this enough times to know how to do it cleanly. Evan called me an hour later. Didn't yell, didn't threaten, just sounded tired, deflated, like the last of the air had finally leaked out of whatever hope he'd been clinging to. "How long do we have?" he asked. 30 days. "Where are we supposed to go?" "That's not my problem." A beat of silence. Then, soft, "She's pregnant." I didn't laugh. Didn't sigh. Just asked the question that had been circling since the first time I watched Mara turn affection into footage. Is it even yours? Silence. Longer this time. Heavy. I don't know, he said finally, then figure it out. I hung up before he could ask for sympathy. Wednesday morning, I drove to the house on Fisher Street, parked across the street, watched. The place looked smaller than it used to, or maybe just emptied of the energy it once held, back when it was a home, not a set. The porch boards had warped after the last storm. The banner she'd hung for their renovation reveal video still drooped from the awning, weather-faded and pathetic. A moving truck pulled up at noon. 2 guys in matching shirts got out, contracted labor, not friends, not family. They loaded furniture, boxes, a crib still in its shipping wrap, never assembled, never used. All the pieces of a life curated for cameras, now being packed into cardboard like props after closing night. Mara stood on the porch, phone in hand, recording. Even eviction was content, tears ready, angle rehearsed, the soft-focus tragedy arc already forming in her head. She saw me, stared. No smile, no wave, just calculation, how to frame me, how to twist me, how to keep herself the victim. I got out of my truck, walked across the street, and set a single cardboard box on the curb, plain, unmarked, light enough to carry, heavy enough to matter. "What's that?" she asked, voice sharper than the fake softness she used online. "Everything you need to know." I walked back to my truck and drove away. The box contained printed copies of everything: the wedding video, the hallway footage, Lena's emails, the invoices showing how much she'd billed Evan and how fast she'd drained him, the text messages about baiting the old man for views. All of it. Highlighted, organized, time-stamped, no editing, no narrative voiceover, just facts. The kind that don't need commentary because they're already loud enough. Rhea Lawton published her Mea Culpa piece that night. I was played, how influencer drama blinded me to the truth. She detailed everything, how Mara had fed her stories, how she'd monetized the drama without fact-checking, how she'd trusted a pretty lie because it performed better than a complicated truth. She admitted to chasing engagement metrics instead of ethics, to building a career on amplification instead of investigation, to being just another cog in the machine that devours real people and spits out content. The comments were split. "Thank you for owning this. Too little, too late. You're just as guilty as she is, but the damage was done, to Mara, to Lena, to their brands. They'd spent years building digital empires out of emotion and spectacle. One documented truth detonated the foundation. Turns out attention isn't loyal. It migrates. Mara tried one more pivot, posted a crying video, sitting in an empty apartment, talking about how she'd lost everything. Bare walls behind her, dim lighting, the illusion of vulnerability, though the ring light reflection still shone in her pupils. "I made mistakes," she said, mascara running in perfect streaks. "I hurt people. I chased views and validation, and I forgot what mattered. I'm sorry." The comments were merciless. "Stop crying. Start fixing. You're only sorry because you got caught. Go away. No brand deals, no sponsorships, no salvaging the persona." The audience she'd cultivated on outrage and emotional manipulation was now feeding on her in return. Poetic, in a way. Predictable, in another. Troy's union complaint stack grew. By Friday, he was blacklisted from every job site in the county. No foreman wanted a liability with a temper and a record of unsafe conduct. His van was repossessed. The tools he hadn't stolen were auctioned to pay fines. His name was now shorthand in contractor circles. Don't hire him, don't trust him, don't stand near him when scaffolding is involved. Lena's subscriber count dropped below 2,000. Her sponsors were gone. Her podcast became a ghost town. Episodes with no comments, no shares, no energy. Her voice, once bright and confident, became a lonely echo in a space she used to command. She tried to reach out, sent me an email. Lena, Dad, I'm sorry. I know I messed up. Can we talk? I deleted it, not out of anger, out of certainty. She wasn't ready for a real conversation. She wanted absolution without accountability. That's not a conversation. That's a request for erasure. Friday night, my phone rang. Evan. Meet me at the pier, he said. No cameras, no witnesses, just you and me. I need to know what you want, what this was all for. I thought about saying no. Thought about letting him sit in the wreckage he helped build. Thought about whether anything I said would matter to someone who had spent years mistaking chaos for love. But I didn't say no. I'll be there, I said. The pier at night is quiet in a way most places never are anymore. Wood creaking, water slapping pilings, a lighthouse beam sweeping the dark like a tired eye refusing to sleep. I knew why he wanted to meet there. Neutral ground, public enough for safety, private enough for truth. I parked, stepped out, and let the cold air settle over me. Evan was already there, leaning against the railing, sweater pulled tight, hair longer and unkempt. He looked older than he was, not by years, by choices, no phone in his hand, no camera, just a man stripped down to whatever was left after the performance ended. He didn't speak at first, and I didn't rush him. Some silences do more work than words ever could. Finally, he turned to me. Did you ever love her? He asked. Did you ever see her the way I did? No, I said. And that's what saved me. He nodded slowly, absorbing that. What do you want from me? He asked. Revenge? Gratitude? Distance? A confession? I don't want anything from you, I said. I wanted something for you. You just didn't want it yet. And now, that depends on what you do next. He let out a breath that sounded like surrender and recognition wrapped together. You think I can fix this? He asked. No. I think you can start fixing yourself. The rest follows, or it doesn't. But the damage stops with you. That's the point. He didn't respond right away, just stared out at the black water. She really might be pregnant, he said quietly. Then be better than the life she offered, I said, or walk away before you repeat the cycle. The wind shifted. A gull cried somewhere in the dark. The world kept turning, indifferent. He looked at me one last time. Thank you, he said, not as a plea, not as a debt, just a statement. I nodded, turned, and walked back to my truck. Not as a victor, not as a judge, just a man who had finally reached the end of a chapter that should have closed years ago. Some endings don't feel like closure. They feel like exhaling after holding your breath for too long. That was enough. The pier was empty when I arrived. Wind hard, biting cold, the kind that cuts through jackets and fine skin. The lights flickered on the water. The ferry was docked at the far end, engine idling, waiting for the last passengers. Evan stood at the end of the pier, hands in his pockets, looking out at the black water. I walked toward him, slow, deliberate. What do you want? He asked without turning around. I want you to take the apprenticeship, I said. The one I lined up for you 2 years ago at the City Works. I want you to admit you cut corners. I want you to repay the condo board. I want you to fix every violation on every job site you've got. And I want you to keep Mara and Lena away from any contracts, any projects, any part of your business forever. He turned. His face was thinner than I remembered. Older. That's it, he said. That's it. What if I say no? Then you lose everything. The house is already gone. Your business is hanging by a thread. Your reputation is destroyed. You've got nothing left to bargain with. I already lost everything. Not yet. You've still got a choice. He laughed. Bitter. Broken. Choice. Right. Footsteps behind me. I turned. Mara. Troy. Lena. All 3 of them, walking down the pier toward us. Of course. Mara held her phone up. Recording. You really thought he'd come alone, she said. I thought he might be smart enough too, I said. This ends now, Troy said, stepping forward. All of it. You don't get to destroy people's lives and walk away. I didn't destroy anything. You did that yourselves. You manipulated everything. No. I just stopped letting you manipulate me. Troy swung. I saw it coming, slipped to the side. His fist hit air. He swung again, connected with my shoulder. Pain shot down my arm. I grabbed his wrist, used his momentum, twisted. We both went down on the wet boards. Evan shouted something. Tried to pull Troy off. Lena was recording. So was Mara. I rolled, got my feet under me, pulled a rescue strap from my belt, the same kind I'd carried for 20 years as a volunteer firefighter, and looped it around Troy's wrist, pulled it tight, clipped it to a dock cleat. He thrashed, couldn't break free. Let me go. No. Darren appeared at the end of the pier. I'd texted him before I came, just in case. A harbor officer wandered over, flashlight in hand, radio crackling. Everything okay here? Just finishing up, I said. I turned to Evan, pulled a folded paper from my jacket. Sign this, right now, witnessed. What is it? Everything I just told you, in writing. You take the apprenticeship, you repay the deposits, you fix the violations, you stay away from Mara and Lena in any professional capacity. Sign it or walk away with nothing. He stared at the paper, looked at Mara, looked at me. Evan, don't, Mara said. He can't make you. Shut up, Evan said. She froze. He took the paper, read it, every word. Then he pulled a pen from his pocket and signed. The harbor officer signed as witness. Darren signed as secondary. Evan pulled the house keys from his pocket. The ones to Fisher Street. The house I'd given him. The house that had started all of this. He held them out. Take them, he said. I took them. He looked at Mara. We're done. Evan, we're done. You drained my business. You used me for content. You lied about the baby. We're done. Her face went white. You can't just... I can, and I am. He turned to Lena. And you. Stay away from me. Don't call. Don't text. Don't show up at my jobs. You wanted content. You got it. Now live with it. Lena's phone was still recording. She didn't say anything. Just stood there, camera pointed at Evan, watching her brother walk away from her. Troy was still clipped to the cleat. The harbor officer cut him loose with a warning and a citation for assault. Mara tried to say something to me. I didn't listen, just turned and walked back down the pier. Darren fell into step next to me. That go the way you wanted? He asked. Better. What now? Now I go home. The ferry horn bellowed. Deep, final. Passengers shuffled past us, bags in hand, ignoring the scene behind us. I pocketed the keys, listened to the ferry's engine spool up. The water slapped against the pilings. The wind carried the smell of salt and diesel and cold. I'd won. Lost my family in the process. But I'd won. The keys felt heavy in my pocket, not because of what they opened, because of what they closed. Doors, relationships, futures. Evan walked past me without a word, shoulders slumped, face hollow. He'd signed away his pride, his wife, his sister, all of it, but he'd kept his business, barely. Mara stood at the end of the pier, phone down, mascara running, alone. Lena stood next to her, subscriber count dropping in real time. Troy limped toward the parking lot, wrist red from the strap, career over. And I stood there, watching them all scatter, and felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not guilt, not regret, just cold. I turned and walked back toward solid ground. Darren walked with me until we reached the parking lot. You okay? He asked. Yeah. You sure? No. He nodded, understood. Call me if you need anything. I will. He got in his car and drove away. I stood in the parking lot for a long time, keys in my pocket, wind biting my face, watching the ferry pull away from the dock, lights fading into the dark. Funny thing about doors. Most of them only look locked from the outside. I got in my truck and drove home.